All right, we got another one good for you here on the Business of Social podcast powered by STN Digital. I'm your host, David Brickley. Another Biz of Social panel edition, Will. Again, thank you so much for all the hard work, determination, and schedule situations you were diving through as we try to book all these amazing leaders at major brands that I think, again, our listeners are going to get so much value from. We had the product and the apparel panel, which I think was super well received, and just I learned so much from it. I'm so glad I met those guys. And this one, I guess we'll call it our food and beverage panel. We have Pepsi, Jersey Mike's, and Anheuser-Busch. I mean, come on, you're talking about some of the three major brands in the world right now. But I'm super excited to dig into this panel as well. Again, you guys know the drill. Just really learning from this time. And again, we talked about in the last show, Will, we understand that there's been a lot of heartache. There's been a lot of bad news that we've all had to deal with. If you guys know anything about me, I'm positive, optimistic, try to think of glass half full. What do we learn from this? How do we grow as leaders? From a business standpoint, what levers or what pivots do we make that can help us in the future to have more financial stability and be able to create more jobs? Listen, out of every dark situation, there's light. And I want to talk to these leaders about different things that they actually thrived instead of just survived during. And then also as they go forward as leaders and as companies, what they can take away from the situation. So Will, I think that was kind of our vision for this entire panel series. And I think so far it's paying off pretty well.
Yeah, the first one went great. And I'm really excited here to hear kind of like one or two things that they're all going to keep for the future. Like, why didn't we do this before? Yeah. And two is, what can we remove? What can we cut out of the process? What's going to make us more efficient and maybe work better as a team?
All right, so here's the, again, rock star lineup. We have Nicole Portwood. She's the Vice President of Marketing at PepsiCo. She focuses mostly on the Mountain Dew energy and flavors section of the company. Formerly the VP and CMO, Will, of Tito's Vodka. I know you're a big Tito's guy. So
my personal favorite.
Mike Manzo is the Chief Operating Officer at Jersey Mike's, oversees over 1,700 locations. I could have sworn Jersey Mike's just started a couple years ago. They got 1,700 stores now. They're doing just fine. And then we have Luiz Barros. He's the Global Vice President of Data and Media at Anheuser-Busch InBev. We're talking globally at this point, and you guys all know how much Anheuser-Busch and InBev overall is just like, it's a part of everything. Sports, bars, restaurants, it's everywhere. So I'm so excited to get his thoughts as well. Again, three major brands, three really smart leaders. I'm so thankful they came on the show, and you're going to get an immense amount of value. I know I did, and you will. And you're going to enjoy this one. Here we go. All right, I'm so excited about this panel focused on obviously the food and beverage. It's a party. We got beer, we got Pepsi, we got amazing sandwiches, Jersey Mike's. It's a party I want to be at post-COVID for sure, once we're all open back up. But there's a lot of great leaders on this panel that I'm so excited to get started. All right, so I'm going to start with Nicole Portwood. She is the Vice President of Marketing at Pepsi. Nicole, would love to have you kick things off and just explain to the listeners and the viewers a little bit about your day-to-day and what you oversee over at Pepsi.
Sure. I am the VP of Marketing overseeing the Mountain Dew and flavored CSD portfolio at PepsiCo for our PepsiCo Beverages North America business. And I oversee all marketing communications, strategy, innovation, and commercialization for that portfolio of products. Everything you can imagine, total end to end. I've been at PepsiCo now for about a year and a half, a little over a year and a half. And before that, I was Chief Marketing Officer at Tito's, the vodka company down in Austin. So a bit of a swing, but definitely excited to be here and learn from you guys and talk about these interesting subjects today.
So you can bring vodka to our party too. Perfect. We got it
all
always,
now. Yeah, always have some with me. I've just learned that's a good way to make friends.
Yeah, exactly. Mike Manzo, the CEO of Jersey Mike's, would love to hear from you. I know you guys have over 1,700 locations, which I feel like it was just yesterday where you guys started spouting up everywhere. So it's been an amazing growth for you all. But we'd love for you to tell the listeners and viewers a little bit about your day-to-day as well.
Yep. Again, my name is Mike Manzo, Chief Operating Officer at Jersey Mike's. I oversee the supply chain development, which includes sales, real estate, and construction. I dabble quite a bit in operations, but I came up through the system. I worked for Peter Cancro, who's the founder and CEO. Been working for him since the late 70s in high school. Wow. So I have a couple of years under my belt and a couple of recessions, and now I have a pandemic under my belt. With the absence of the Marine Corps for 4 years, I've been here for much of my life.
That's awesome. And then I'm going to go to Luiz Felipe Barros, who's the Global Vice President of Data and Media at Anheuser-Busch InBev. Tell us a little bit about your day-to-day and everything you oversee over there.
I joined ABI in February last year, originally to lead data and digital products, including loyalty. And since October last year, I'm also leading media, which also includes media measurement. So it's a very broad scope and a lot to do. Thank you for having me here. AB-Inbev is the largest brewery in the world, but we go much beyond beer. We have a lot of ready-to-drink alcoholic drinks, from canned wine and cocktails to machines that are on a joint venture with Keurig, where you can buy pods of drinks and have a drink in less than 5 seconds, ready to go. We have
Wait, do you have beer pods now? Is this a thing I missed?
Like even no, we have cocktail pods.
Oh wow!
Margarita, old fashioned, whiskey sour.
Wow,
very good.
I'm learning stuff already.
Strongly recommend during quarantine.
Yeah.
And we even have good partnership with PepsiCo on distribution of PepsiCo beverages in Latin America. So I'm overseeing everything related to data strategy. How do we bring the value of data to our marketing organization, our global media partnerships, and how do we measure the efficiency of every investment we do?
That's amazing. I want to start things off with, just to give context to the people listening right now, for each one of your brands. And I'll start with you, Nicole. Just the immediate challenges that you guys faced. I think most people would assume that a lot of businesses were trying to stop the bleeding and make sure that, you know, the pandemic didn't hurt their bottom line as much as possible. But you even mentioned one of the major challenges is people were hoarding your product and bulk buying, and just keeping your product on the shelves was one of the major challenges you guys faced early on.
It was. And, I think in the face of uncertainty, people tend to want to stock up on the things that they value most when they're at home. And it was certainly encouraging for us to see that our products were on that list. Like, that's just an exciting place to be as a group of brands. But yeah, I mean, the bulk buying behavior that we saw was beyond anything we could possibly have prepared for. And Mike, I know in the supply chain world, you are managing supply and demand and the variances that you see seasonally and weekends versus weekdays. And, we have some pretty great algorithms as a historical company to help us predict that stuff, but nothing prepared us for the waves of buying behavior that we saw. So our first priority was to make sure, first of all, that we were keeping our employees safe. That was obviously number one. But then to service the people of the US, right? So PepsiCo is not just Pepsi and Mountain Dew. It's also Quaker and Frito-Lay and Tropicana and water brands. And so to feed and hydrate the country was our number one mission. We found ourselves having to go through SKU optimization and reallocate resources from marketing to operations so that we could ensure we were paying our frontline more for the way they were putting their lives at risk to, get out there and keep product on the shelves. We hired about 6,000 more employees in the first couple of weeks. Because again, there is a seasonality to our business. In our peak seasons, we hire more folks to work in warehouses and drive trucks and merchandise stores. But we had to ramp that up really, really quickly. So, I mean,
and I know for like 4th of July, for instance, like, just your product, Anheuser-Busch kind of flies off the shelves for parties. Can you give me an equivalent? Was it like July 4th every day for a while there? Like how'd you guys kind of break it down in terms of what you've seen in the past?
Sorry, is that one for me or for Luiz?
Yeah, sorry, that was for you.
Oh yeah. It was like a holiday weekend times 10.
Wow.
Every day of the week. I mean, many of our major customers, the big chain stores out there, saw record sales results, like higher than they had ever been in the history of those retailers. That comes with its own challenges, right? But it's been an interesting place to be because we did have a tremendous amount of volume going out the door, but there was a significant shift in the mix of that volume. So we have single serve products that are more profitable for us and multi-pack products that are less profitable, but a greater value for consumers. So yeah, I mean, like holiday week times 10 every single day.
We all thought it was just toilet paper, but it was also Mountain Dew and the host of Pepsi product, which is amazing.
A lot of those are comfort products, right? And people want to surround themselves with the things they love if they think they're going to be stuck at home for a long time.
Mike, what are the main challenges you guys face? Because much differently, you guys have the Jersey Mike, brick and mortar stores where people go to get their amazing sandwiches, and those, you had to start focus on social distancing, and even I'm sure for a few days there, can we even keep our stores open? So what were the immediate challenges that you guys had to hunker down and kind of face when this whole thing went down?
Yeah, so really this started for us on March 9th, which was a Monday. Our weeks end on Sunday, so at March 8th, we had almost double-digit growth on transactions, 8% on store volume, and we're going right into our month of giving. And all of a sudden, the door shut, and we're down 35%. And the first thing through this pandemic was we had to avoid the panic. And with the empathy we have for our customer, who's our franchisee/owners, we call them the owners, and of course, we have their customers that are paying for subs. So we had to kind of balance the ship with a lot of empathy and caring and a lot of communication. First thing we set up was a communications plan because so many questions needed to be answered. So we started with the disinfecting and the social distancing, the mask, the gloves, etc. But when we started this in early March, we said we're going to stay open for 3 reasons. One, going on unemployment and closing down the stores, it won't do anybody any good. Nobody wins with that. Number 2, we have to, our customers are looking for something to be normal about. Besides standing in line at the grocery store waiting for a Pepsi and then the Tito's and then the toilet paper. I think it went in that order, but I don't know.
Yeah.
And of course the beer, the anti-inflammatory products. So the customers needed to understand where was normal. And number 3, we our motto is giving, making a difference in someone's life. So if we were to close, we would not have fed those millions and millions of people that we raised money for during Feeding America and all our local charities. So there were 3 great reasons to stay open and try to weather the storm. And we could not have done any of that without our great communications plan, which was the two director of operations. And then we had a third person who's been with the brand for 22 years, and he was sending out the daily emails and the updates to the system.
And I think you mentioned, Mike, that except for some of the locations that were like inside airports and different areas that were completely closed off, like you guys essentially all your stores remained open and were able to continue to feed people and keep the doors open.
Yeah, I think there's 4 or 5 that remain closed right now, but the 17 universities, colleges, airports, train stations, yes, they are closed. Right. And we spoke to those partners the other day, and we stayed open in Charlotte, North Carolina airport, and we're the 4th highest grossing concept they have in their portfolio. So we're doing there. Yeah,
that's awesome. Luiz, for you, what were the main things that you guys had to really tackle immediately and make sure you pivoted based on just the challenges that this whole thing brought?
The first thing we needed to do, of course, is to ensure the health and safety of our people, right? We have many factories around the world that continue operating. We have truckers delivering the beer cases around the world, so we needed to make sure that we have all the right conditions for them. Same thing as Mike said, we want to make sure that we can ensure the employment of our people and continues our operation. As soon as we were able to figure that out, the second thing we did was to make sure that we could use our infrastructure to support society. And there are things that we are really proud. One of the examples, our Brazil team came with the idea of using the alcohol that we extract out of non-alcohol beer, the 0.0 beer, to produce hand sanitizers. In less than 9 days, we were already producing them in Brazil. Wow. And in less than 2 weeks, we already have that being produced and distributed to public hospitals around 20 countries. And that was one of the things that we did. Another example, we started to use our infrastructure of trucks to deliver goods that are necessary, first needs for people. We started to do masks, face shields for the population, for the medical population, to ensure their safety within hospitals with the PET from our packages in Brazil. We created programs like Save the Pub and Save the Restaurant for more than 20 countries, where people can buy vouchers for their favorite restaurants and bars. Now we match the money that they spend buying the voucher with an additional donation. and pay that to the bars and restaurants at the same week to ensure that they can have cash flow to sustain their operation, avoid firing people, and keep their business continuity as well. So the main bulk of our effort in the beginning was to ensure that we could use everything we have in terms of people, resource, talent to help society. And the following step was also, how can we help consumers? Because there are new occasions emerging. People want to thrive during this very challenging moment, having the best type of normality that you can imagine. So one very good example, we started to do live streams of musicians in Brazil, right? Because people likes to attend shows and they are going to be without the option of going to a show. And in less than 45 days, we deliver more than 500 million views around Brazil. We broke the world record of concurrent people on a live stream. That was something that we're really proud of, because more than only exposing our brands, we are entertaining people and making sure that we give them an option to have fun while they're in lockdown. Same thing related to many other initiatives that we're running right now. So from trivia nights in the US and Europe to make sure that people can have the feeling that they are going out with friends. We know that people are also having Zoom and Hangouts and house party calls. So how can we augment that experience and bring solutions for them to keep having fun? Home cooking became something much more preeminent. So we're trying to tap in those occasions and offer opportunities for people to have fun and help them to cope during this very unusual situation that we're all facing.
And I apologize to all of you for being on, I'm sure, your 10,000th Zoom call over the last 2 months, but we had to do it. It was the best way to get together. I want to get into actually how quickly you were all able to pivot, because I think from a corporation standpoint, right? If, Nicole, you guys want to, change the look of one of your cans, I'm sure historically it goes through 17 layers of approvals and it's like a huge process, but we all had to move quickly in record speed. And I'm really wondering, as a brand like Pepsi almost became a startup overnight because they had to move so quickly, that's got to be able to help in the future. Like, hey guys, we were able to move quickly for COVID. So 4 years down the road, when we're kind of worrying about, do we need to have another meeting on this? Like, let's just go to market. We know how to do this.
Yeah, I mean, I think you've hit on one of the positive things to come out of this very difficult time and this very sad time for a lot of people. We're trying to look for some of the silver linings, and this idea of agility in an organization as large and matrixed as ours has really been a muscle we've had to flex and grow during this time. But I will say that our entire leadership was all in, and the communication began to flow immediately. We were having leadership calls every single day, starting our day together, ending our day together, and collaborating in a way that I have not seen and honestly didn't know was possible, again, at an organization of our size and complexity. It forced everyone to think much more holistically about everything they were doing. And I was on the phone and on calls with supply chain and global procurement and the PR team at just an absolute rapid fire pace. And so that kind of agility and quick problem solving and moving to decisions very, very quickly, I think has become a lot more comfortable for people when your ability to assess risk is extremely acute, but the need to behave and act very, very quickly in response to what's happening in the world around you is an absolute mandate. That kind of resilience and that kind of sort of self-disruptive way of looking at doing business and making decisions, I think is going to be part of the new normal, right? Whenever we get there. This idea that no one can kind of just sit back on their laurels and take anything for granted. The world can change at a moment's notice, and we have to be ready to collaborate together to make quick decisions and move our business in a way that protects our employees and protects our market share. And that's a very difficult thing to do. It's certainly for an organization of any kind, but certainly for an organization the size of PepsiCo, I think our timelines have certainly shrunk, and I hope to see that behavior continue once we're through once we're through this difficult time. But it's been exciting to see. And I think that my colleagues and I have also just gotten closer through this time, through the constant communication. Agendas align and magic happens when you can just be clear, transparent, and all pointed toward decision-making very quickly.
I read an article that's interesting, like human psychology, when you're kind of like in that wartime mentality, all the internal politics, all the BS kind of goes out the window. And it's just like, how are we going to do this? And I think we've probably seen teamwork, and we'll get into that a little later in the show, just to skyrocket. And Mike, I wanted to go to you, because I know you're our supply chain guy, and you're in it every day. I think you mentioned to me, Jersey Mike's has over 200 private or proprietary products that you have to get to all your stores to make sure your quality of your product stays up. So you can say all day long, we want to keep our stores open, but if some of those, products are not able to reach those stores, it's kind of that domino effect. So what were the challenges you guys faced, and maybe some things you guys have kind of shored up for future as well?
Yeah, Nicole said that the best. The entire organization was very quick in responding to decision making. I'd like to add to that decision making. As a company, we implemented free delivery and went right back to the TV with that marketing. That free delivery cost somebody something, and there was a lot of corporate monies involved there. And we handed out the band. We came out with bandanas first before the mask, because we just couldn't find any masks. Then we had the banners, and our IT department. We own and operate our own IT department, so our proprietary information is at our fingertips. Very important to supply chain. So when we're speaking to folks like Frito-Lay, now if you take that potato chip, you bring it all the way back to the farmer, and understand what the farmer's going through. Yeah. And they have the crops in the field, and nobody's buying the crop, and they're not producing any of the chips because the number is down. So it's communication, and we put together a letter of commitment to all of our vendors that please make the product. We will be financially responsible for all the product that you make, because we knew we were going to use it on the other end. And our distribution network through all the Cisco houses was a true partnership, where we broke down the barriers between the manufacturer and quote unquote the distribution chain, which in this case it's Cisco. So the collaboration between folks like Patrick Frederick of Frito-Lay, he's never worked this way with Cisco before. And his team was in the warehouse for a number of hours putting UPS stickers on thousands and thousands of cases of chips. So we're UPSing just potato chips alone directly to the stores. Wow. Because there was a supply chain hiccup there. But now you talk about the beef, and you understand what Wendy's is going through, and what's happening at your grocery store. And we're on the phone each day with Tyson, who provides us our fresh beef and our cheesesteaks, and all the way to our provolone cheese manufacturer. Because you think about, it's not who you're buying it from, it's who they're buying it from with the raw materials. And Luiz, I can't imagine what your supply chain looks like with all your beverages there. But it's been a great test in a humanitarian type of way, that everybody understands we all need each other. Mm-hmm. And commitments. There were a lot of verbal commitments, and I just think, again, true spirit of Americans. We all came through and helped each other, and nobody threw rocks at the other person because something didn't work it out right. But communication was there, and true partnerships.
Mike, awesome. Can I ask you a question? Yep. I know I'm not supposed to be the one asking questions.
Co-host it with me.
It just made me think of something that I saw in my organization. It sounds like you did too, is that trust really becomes such an important part of making all these pieces work together. Trust in each other, trust in your partners, and a trust that we all have kind of the same guiding set of principles that is going to lead us to do the right thing at every one of these decision points. Did you feel that in your organization?
It was absolutely trust. There was trust on all sides, from the consumer that's in a store buying the sandwiches in a safe environment, and having all the beer trucks deliver masks and gloves and whatever, and then having a beverage company as large as PepsiCo deliver whatever they could deliver to the needy and to the food banks. And here's a great story about trust. We had a letter of commitments that were backed financially, because they were buying raw materials at cash prices. So we were having a situation with Frito-Lay, and they said, well, we have truckloads of product that was scheduled for the schools. and they don't have a place for these. And I called our local food bank, who is run by the former Lieutenant Governor of the state of New Jersey, Kim Guadagno, and she said, "I'll take 2 truckloads and put them in the packages." And so they're getting their canned tuna fish, potatoes, and a couple salty snacks from Frito-Lay. And so we're just trying to put the food chain together, the supply chain. And guess what? There wasn't one hiccup in those 2 trucks going to Neptune, New Jersey. It was a couple of emails, and Nicole, the amount of trust people had in just moving truckloads of chips. It was really incredible.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you mentioned, Mike, too, that, again, as we all talked about pivoting, you guys had a percentage of your sales was obviously always through delivery and Grubhub, but you guys had a great partnership with Grubhub. You spent a lot of time and effort into making sure that partnership was on a railroad track. So when this did happen, it allowed you guys to pivot super quickly, as that became, I'm sure, the majority of your sales there for at least the time being.
We started working with Uber Eats back 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Uber Eats, and we were the first national company to fully integrate with Uber Eats. So it went through their app, through our POS system, which is very important for taxation and for recording at the store level, and giving us a display of what the product or what the order is about. And then DoorDash, part of our JM Jersey Mike's app, it's what called white label delivery. So we're aligned with our delivery companies, because back before all this, remember, we're competing against Jimmy John's, who's the greatest, besides Domino's, a great delivery company. And we're competing against them, and we're trying to get it through a third party, which it worked out for us.
Luiz, I want to switch topics to just leadership and what we've learned through this time. Nicole touched on it a little bit, and I want all you guys to expand on this if you can. But this thing happens. There's a lot of employees that are fearful for their jobs, for their income. Is my paycheck coming? A lot of fear. And what I've heard time and time again from you guys and other leaders is the transparency was just so important early on. But would love to hear from you and your organization, and maybe with your team individually, what you guys did that you're proud of, and maybe what you learned about leadership and teamwork during all this.
Our culture overall, even before COVID, is a culture of a lot of ownership and very candid relations to make sure that we are transparent all the time with the team. Of course, at this moment, it was paramount to make sure that we over-communicate. People are scared, people are concerned with the future. So making sure that we share with our teams, the senior leadership with us, and us with our direct reports and so on, where we are, what is happening, what are the decisions we are making. This is very important, right? Now that some states are starting to talk about comeback, we need to make sure that our team knows what are our expectations, what we are doing to ensure safety of people whenever we decide to come back to work. And our leadership was really impressive, everything that happened since the beginning. We saw it coming from China, of course. 3 days prior to the Chinese New Year, it completely broke down in China. And our teams started to, they canceled their plans. They started to work around the clock to have a short-term plan to ensure safety of employees, to secure business continuity. We started to learn in advance what was happening, and our leadership, senior leadership in the global team, started to plan ahead. So even a month before it all broke out here in New York, we were already working on our plan B, C, D, on what we will do depending on what happened. We started to allow people working from home to feel safer independently on what was the government guidance back then. And now making sure that we are open, transparent, over-communicating, and have more frequent touch bases. So we have twice a week now a call with the global CMO, all the marketing VPs that reports to him, plus the local marketing VPs, the equivalent of the local CMOs, twice a week to discuss what is happening, our plans, how do we best allocate our resources towards what is important for consumers, right? Because at one hand, bars and restaurants are closed, and of course that hurts our business. At the other hand, people buying on groceries, stockpiling, and demand on e-commerce went out of borders. So we need to make sure that our supply chain is ready for that our communication is ready for that we are thoughtful about the moment that consumers are going through, and how can we help them to have more moments of joy. So leadership was paramount on that. Of course, I used to see my team on a daily basis at the office. Now we have a 15 minutes daily coffee virtual chat.
Yeah.
Not talking about work, not talking about deliverables, just to make sure that we are all doing well. How is everyone doing? What are the concerns and challenges that they are facing, so we can address that as well, on top of our daily routines, to ensure that we are all aligned and we're all being able to deliver what we committed to.
Yeah, I was pretty amazed. I just kind of did this because I thought it was the right thing to do, but I sent out twice a week kind of state of the business emails to my entire team. And I was blown away. People would one-off me and just reply directly to me and say, thank you so much for transparency. This means so much to me. You're being such a great leader during this time. I was kind of taken back, like, what? I'm just sending an email. But I know, Nicole, you mentioned with your guys' team, whether it's like fireside chats with executives or just like additional daily huddles, you guys also really increased the communication, and that your team just really loved the transparency during, the fear of the unknown.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely right. I think transparency and frequency have been the keys. And that's come all the way from the top down. So Ramon Laguarta, who's our global CEO, has been talking with people very regularly. We have a task force that he leads that's dedicated to our COVID-19 response. They meet every single day, and there are frequent share outs from that. But I think the bigger picture of it, that again is one of these behaviors that I hope will stick, is when you give every team member as much holistic purview over what's happening with the business as possible, it helps to contextualize the work that they're doing. And in a time like this, when there's a lot to be proud of that your organization is doing, it can galvanize a team and really make you feel like you're part of something bigger than yourself, than your brand, than your team. And so, I am the sort of self-volunteered liaison between the PepsiCo Foundation and PBNA Marketing. And so I've been sharing out all the great work that our foundation has been doing. We've mobilized in 20 countries across the world and have given more than $50 million toward hunger relief in the most vulnerable places in the world. But it's not just those things to be proud of. It's again, feeling like you're part of that prioritization. You're part of ensuring that our frontline is respected and protected at a time when we rely on them more than ever. And helping people to sort of contextualize the partnerships that are so important to our business. And Mike, you kind of touched on this a little bit, but the commitments that we have to our consumers, right? The people, the fans out there who buy our products, and our commitment to keep those shelves stocked and the quality of our products as high as they expect it to be. The commitment to our customers, like Jersey Mike's, like some of our retail partners, that we commit, we're going to show up and we're going to stock those shelves, and we're going to keep you guys in product so that you can then serve the communities where you are. And our commitment to our employees, that I think that fear and that uncertainty can be assuaged by having such open communication throughout the organization. It helps that we have a very kind of fluid and open communication style at PepsiCo, where you can tap anyone on the shoulder and ask for time to either get to know them or ask questions, and people will willingly give you that time, as I learned firsthand coming in a senior position from the outside. But yeah, it's a galvanization and a sort of clarity of general purpose that people can rally behind, that helps to feel like they're part of doing good things in the world.
And Mike, I know you won't say it, so I'll say it for you. I have some friends that own franchises for different brands, and they just don't get the support from corporate that I think you guys do, and that you guys just take so much pride in. I know for you guys, when all this went down, your focus immediately went to the Jersey Mike owner, the franchisee, and from a corporate standpoint, here's how we can help you guys immediately.
Mm-hmm. Yes. What's special about our organization, I believe our executive team and our operations team has worn the apron for decades. Our two director of operations have been with the brand, one for 25 years and one for 23 years. And they're only 40 years old. So they went right through high school, college, and they joined our ranks. And when we sell a franchise, we don't sell a franchise, we sell opportunities to a family member. and we don't call them franchisees, we call them owners. So we walk that path. We're all shoulder to shoulder, and we give back as much as they give back, and we understand what they're going through. So while this was happening and unfolding, Peter said, let's call every franchisee, and we divided up the country, and we're just making phone calls and not asking about business, but asking about how's their family, how are they doing with their own health, and what's going on at home. Because we just love going out and visiting the franchisees. And prior to this, we had a 30-city tour where we were just going out, meeting with franchisees, getting ready for our big national meeting coming up. We had the fastest sub contest coming up. We had managers of the year contest coming up. So we're at the height of the year, and we're the closest to the franchisees at that point of the time. And we with the PPP loans, we again called each franchisee and worked that process, had a number of webinars, and gave them great guidance. The first round, I think we went, I think our batting average was under 100, and then which is not good if you're not a baseball fan.
Yeah.
Second round, we're about 95%
Wow.
funded. And we were just persistent. We knocked on the door of a lot of banks that we've never done business with corporately. So we really, I believe we assisted wholeheartedly for our franchisees. And now we're going through a retrofit in the middle of this. And we're retrofitting 20 stores a week. And the retrofit is costing the franchisee zero. The franchisor, the company, is paying $150 million to renovate everybody's store.
Wow.
No money out of the franchisee's pocket. So we have everybody has a lot at stake here. So it's not us versus them. It's the whole team.
If you guys want to come by and redecorate my office too, I mean, while you're at it, you might as well just stop by. I'd appreciate it.
You might have a couple of menu boards with the Pepsi logo on it.
Or yes, we're right down the street from your Pacific Beach, San Diego location, so we can make it work. I want to talk about marketing, and especially for you, Nicole. Obviously, you guys have a lot of stuff in arena, a lot of different sports properties that you guys sponsor and have a lot of different activations with. But, I mentioned to a lot of you already, out of home, in arena, your conferences and trade shows, those overnight went away, and all brands really had to focus, okay, e-com, digital, how are we going to shift strategy? So for you guys, Nicole, like what different things did you have to just pause? And then what things did you turn on because of this new norm?
Yeah, it's definitely sort of changed the landscape of consumer experience, right? And a big part of any kind of consumable product is the real life experience of enjoying it. And that happens in these incredible contexts all around the world, in arenas, in restaurants and festivals, all kinds of places.
Yeah.
And those have been just quickly scooped out of our toolkit. What I will say is that we certainly took a moment. We put a lot of things on pause, particularly on social media, and just took a deep breath and said, okay, we need to really consider, how does my brand show up and talk when the world is like it is? And does my brand need to show up and talk when the world is like it is? And you and I talked a little bit about this.
No, I love what you said here. You're just like, do people want to hear from Mountain Dew right now? Or should we just pause? I mean, it's a very self-aware concept, but I thought it was brilliant how you laid it out.
Yeah, there's a time and a place, I think, for a brand like Mountain Dew specifically to have a point of view on the state of the world. And sometimes you just need to not say anything. If you put yourself in the shoes of a person, like take your marketing hat off for a second and just be a person and just think, do I really want to hear from this brand? And if I do, what kind of thing would I want to hear from them? So that pause gave us an opportunity to just sort of say, okay, let's not just join the bandwagon of commenting on things if we don't have anything to really add to this conversation. We've since kind of come out of hiding with our Doing Never Stops platform, which is it's lighthearted. It really is. It's a way to sort of help people find ways to keep doing the stuff they love even while they're in lockdown, because we all still need to be there. But the other piece of that I would say is, as we think about what happens when we emerge from this challenge, the world is going to look very different. And what we've seen is that any attempts to recreate live events tend to be pretty they fall flat, I guess is the nice way to put it. And so I would say the challenge to all of us, and particularly in the entertainment world, is not to try to recreate those experiences, but to find new ways to bring brands and experiences to life in a digital age where we're not going to be able to gather as closely as we used to for big concerts and sporting events. I was just watching the Bundesliga this weekend with no fans in the stadium and watching Borussia Dortmund, that's our team in this house. I'm sorry if anyone's anti, with no fans in the stadium was just bizarre. And so the challenge to us, to everyone who's involved in anything that touches people's lives, is to figure out how do we do it afresh within this new context rather than trying to recreate something that is sort of fleeting and has disappeared from our lives right now. And we as brands have to figure out how to come to life in that new context as well. And I'd be lying if I tell you I'd figured it out yet. I certainly haven't, but we work with lots of really passionate and brilliant people. And I'm sure that collectively we can bring value to people's lives in a new way.
Does it ultimately, from a marketing standpoint, go to where the eyeballs are? And if less people are watching games in arena, or less people are at Coachella at a concert, do you then go to like mobile apps and where they are on their phone and Netflix and different experiences where you can do I mean, is that where kind of your mind goes? Like, where are the people and how do we show up?
Yeah, I think channel strategy is definitely a huge part of it. And I'm sure Luiz can speak to this more eloquently than I can, but it's yes. And then how do you pivot what that experience is like? Because you can't do the same old stuff because it isn't dovetailing with a real life experience to give a full kind of, robust message or experience with brand. You've got to do something that's tailor made for that channel that's going to deliver in a new way.
Absolutely. Luiz, I'd love to hear from you about, again, those traditional marketing levers you had to put on pause, but even like you mentioned, the trivia games you guys are doing and some of those things, like I don't see why that doesn't extend post-COVID and become a lever you can now start pulling that you never would have even thought about. But it seems like you guys have been really creative in this space in a short amount of time.
For sure. As the same thing as Nicole mentioned, like we are one of the biggest sponsors around the world. In the US alone, we sponsor NBA, NFL, NHL, MSL, and you can name. Right, NASCAR and all the types of sports you can imagine from the one day to the other, they are not happening anymore. So first rule that we established very early in this whole crisis was, it's not the time to be opportunistic. The first thing we need to do is let's pause everything that is too brand awareness related, that might be not sensitive to the moment, and let's focus our efforts on helping the society and people with the resources that we have. As I mentioned, the hand sanitizer, the PET masks for doctors and things like that. Second thing was recreating the sports and the live events online. It's not, it's only a sad experience of what life used to be, right? We don't want nobody to feel nostalgic and depressed.
Are you guys like me where you watch movies now and watch old sports highlights? Like, oh my God, look how close everybody used to be. Like, get away from each other. It's like,
or you're like, oh, they must have made that before COVID.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
No
it's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
But at the other hand, new occasions are emerging. People are looking to moments to unwind and to feel better about themselves, about their lives, and not remember they are locked down. Nobody wants to talk about COVID 100% of the time, right? I recall that the first virtual happy hours that I did with my friends, the topic was about COVID. Now we're not talking about that anymore, right? The topic's already present on our routines every day. We want to talk about other stuff. So how we can augment those experiences, for example, with the trivias, with live streaming, which became something huge for us, with other type of entertainment related to home cooking, karaoke, whatever we can bring, because the high energy situations that we used to have, nightclubs, shows, they're off right now, and they're going to take a while, right? And as you said, I'm probably not feeling comfortable of going to a live concert until the end of the year, and some people may not feel comfortable until there's a vaccine. How can we bring entertainment and opportunities to those people to, as I said, unwind and relax and have very nice moments with the people that they are locked in at home or virtually with their friends? there are many behaviors changing, right? I live in New York. I used to go out with my group of friends that lives nearby, from my colleagues from work. Nowadays, I'm spending much more time virtually socializing with my old-time high school friends and college friends and my family. I don't, even when I'm able to go out again and go to concerts or to the Madison Square Garden to watch a basketball game, I don't believe that I'm gonna lose the occasion that I created with my colleagues from high school, that we spend an hour or 2 hours every weekend having some beer and talking about anything you can imagine, right? My birthday I spent on quarantine. Basically, I spent my whole day getting phone calls. My wife did my favorite dish, and we did my favorite dessert. It was a very nice experience that I had, and a lot of people are going through that. One of the things we launched in Belgium, we created an activity for Jupiler, our local brand, called Defer Your Birthday, where you can basically sign up to have your birthday later on, because I want to celebrate my birthday in July, August, or November. I don't care. I spent my birthday at home with my family. It was amazing, but I want to have some time with my friends. That was an amazing experience. And even on how we operate internally, we try to be agile before. I think we are very nimble compared to most of the companies I know. But right now, like every week, we are tracking the results of every initiative that you're doing globally to understand if they were successful or not, if we should put more money behind, if we should copy from one place to the other. We are not spending millions at a shiny idea. We are putting money like a seed investment for a venture capital, letting the ideas get traction, but we are measuring them on a daily basis. And maybe on the third day, we say, okay, it's working out, let's put more money. Or we raise our hand and say, hey, let's pause that because we already know that's not going to get traction. And that's something that we want to bring it as a heritage to our business, this agility happened. And now we are excited about the things we learned and the things that we can deliver to consumers because of that.
Yeah, and I think maybe you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I kind of geek out over this a little bit. But I don't think we're talking enough about how we just educated a population at scale on how to be more tech savvy. Like the 39-year-old that now is doing dance challenges on TikTok, the 57-year-old mother of 4 that has an Instagram now, the 79-year-old grandmother that's been doing Zoom calls with her grandkids. Like, Mike, I bring that up because I'm sure when it comes to your Jersey Mike owners or franchisees, as a lot of people call them, there's no way that 1,700 owners are going to be able to figure out a freaking Zoom town hall, 4 months ago. But now I would make a strong argument that I'm sure all of them would have no problem entering that experience and having you guys be able to get more done at that level. So how does that change business and communication going forward now that at scale, we all kind of know how this thing works?
And I think this whole thing eliminated unnecessary communication. I think people are waiting for that WebEx, that Zoom. The subject's going to be on a table. We're going to talk about it. We're going to make a decision and move on. I think there's a lot of gratitude that's coming out of this. Maybe we took everything for granted a bit.
Right.
Maybe it was a bit of a wake-up call. But the 3 companies you have as your guests have been giving back and paying it forward. And I noticed so many other people are doing the same, and I applaud them for doing it. I know I'm not answering your question as you may want, but yeah, our folks that are working from home, they're working more efficiently than ever before.
Right.
The moms are school teachers in a day, and our employees in the evening. And I applaud them, the effort that they have. And remember when this first started, we were saying, we don't want to hear the dogs in the background or the children. But guess what? Now the children are invited into the call.
All good. Yeah.
We're all dealing with this. We all have responsibilities in the workplace and outside the workplace. A happy household is a happy employee. And we say to our employees, don't give us your best. Give your families your best, and then give us the rest.
Yeah.
And I think that's how our leadership looks at it. And through technology, I advanced quite a bit in the last 10 weeks with technology myself, and so do some of my other friends. But I think this was a wake up call to a lot of folks for a lot of different reasons.
And I'm interested to get your guys' take on remote working overall. I think a lot of people that were totally against it, if I don't see someone in a chair, they must be napping on their couch at home. They've kind of noticed like, wow, we're actually being productive. We're actually still making money. We're actually doing this thing. Do I really need that super expensive high rise in Manhattan in order to, run my business efficiently? And a friend of mine that was on another panel, Nate Checketts, he's a CEO of Roan, men lifestyle company. He said, imagine when the kids are in school and imagine when you're not scared for your health with COVID being a thing, you can be even more productive, maybe even 2X or 3X. So, Nicole, I'll throw it to you. Do you think at PepsiCo and just like business in general, that remote working is just going to become a whole different game and another lever that we can now pull?
I absolutely do. I think that, travel constraints or relocation constraints on talent have been a very real thing for us. We're an organization with major hubs in a lot of different cities. And there are folks who, for lots of personal and financial reasons, don't want to move from where they are. And so some opportunities have been closed to them because of that. I really do believe that now that we've seen how effective we can be apart from each other, a lot of those barriers are going to be removed. I also think that we're taking a very close look at how to most effectively use people's time. I don't know about you guys, but I spent a lot of time on the road before all of this. Yeah. And the amount of time and money and emotional toll it takes to be away from your family to go and have a 1-hour meeting with 2 other people. That you have to measure the benefits there. I have 2 young
I have a feeling we're all going to say like, can I just be a Zoom? Do I really need to fly to you?
Do I really need it? Now, there are times where there's just no replacement for face-to-face, right? But I do think that we'll all take a really hard look at those and prioritize those conversations and those in-person interactions. And
it's at least an option for us now.
It totally is. And like I said, I have 2 small children. And so for me, it has an emotional toll beyond just not sleeping as much and eating airport 100%. Food and all that stuff. So although when there's a Jersey Mike's in the airport.
I was going to say.
Then I'm okay.
Luiz, what about for you? Like, how do you think that changes your guys' business overall and how you, especially with your employees? Like maybe I heard a story with Facebook, an engineer gets paid $180,000 because he has to live in San Francisco. He may go take that 180 and go live in North Dakota now and save a lot of money. And maybe salaries start to go down a little bit too, because they don't have to pay knowing that you're going to have to live next door to the facility. But anyways, we'd love to hear your thoughts on if you think your business will also grow with that new lever.
Overall, we believe in people working together. Bringing people together is part of our purpose as a company. But at the same time, one of the good outtakes of everything that is happening is that we are prioritizing much better right now. We are being ruthless on prioritization. So it's more than could that travel be a Zoom or could that travel be a WhatsApp message or an email, right? How can we make sure that we are putting 90% of our time in what matters, or even 100% if possible, instead of doing projects or spending time with things that are not priority for our business, and more than that, not priority for our consumers, right? Yep. David mentioned earlier that we should put our brands where the eyeballs are. We should put our brands where the consumer need is, right? Yep. Right now, consumers are looking for contactless delivery. Maybe in the future, they are looking for contactless experiences on restaurants. They don't want to swipe credit cards. They don't want to hold menus. So we need to make sure that we offer those things, because the world is changing, and for a while, and at least until a vaccine is found, if a vaccine is found, right, we need to be candid about that as well. We need to find new ways of interacting with consumers, but also how do we manage our business ourselves? I have people working on my team based in other countries, in Canada. I have people that spend most of their time traveling. Last year, I spent most of my time traveling. And now we are realizing that we can do most of the things we were used to do on week-long travels on 2 or 3 hours online sessions, or better organized material, or instead of 1 hour long meetings, we can do that in half an hour with a solid pre-read and all them, and everybody committed to check on the material beforehand.
The world needs more pre-reads. Amen.
Yeah, definitely.
And then Mike, for you guys too, like even from a talent perspective, again, with this ability to work more remote, I was even thinking for our company here at STN, I think a lot of businesses will turn it more to like a WeWork, where you have a lot of great open space, you have ability to dock into stations and be able to come together, but does like the individual desk space with your flower and your pot and all that stuff, like, does that maybe go away for one, for social distancing currently, but for two, just to be more efficient in the future too? But we'd love to hear, I guess, has your mindset changed at all about remote workers and how that can help Jersey Mike's?
We haven't made any decisions yet, but there's been a lot of talk. We have about 200 people that come to the Jersey Shore. We're located in Manasquan, New Jersey, which is about 50 miles south of New York. And we provide a chef. So they have morning breakfast, snacks, and a lunch. And there's a gymnasium, and it's a nice lifestyle. And I think the employees are missing that, because the camaraderie and the teamwork you find in the lunchroom. So we're all missing that, and we're missing each other's love and care and stories. But you talk about efficiencies now. My plan is, why can't they work from home Monday and Friday, so they have 4-day weekends? And they understand childcare, and they can save on childcare. And you come to the office Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and maybe folks don't have to travel as much. There's certainly going to be more efficiencies. So we do have some glass partitions coming up soon, and but we have a 3 office buildings that are it's well attended. Well, I should say there's a lot of space for the few people that we have. So
I tried to look in the plexiglass, and it's completely sold out everywhere. So that's like on back order for 6 months. No big deal. Well, I know we're almost at time here, so I'm going to end with the note here. And Nicole, you mentioned it earlier. As you can tell about this panel, I'm trying to find the silver lining and what we can learn, because obviously we all know about, all the heartache and all the families that have been affected by this. But I would love to hear from you, and Nicole, I'll start with you. 10 years from now, when we look back, what do you think is the main thing we learned as leaders? How do we grow from this situation? What were we thankful for? When that person comes to you and said, how did COVID affect you back in 2020? What do you think the main things you'll say?
I think this ordeal has laid bare our humanity. And I mean that in every sense of the word. We are more human in our engagements with each other professionally, more human in the way we think about how we help the communities that we serve, whether that's giving money, product, time, whatever the case is. We are more human in allowing parts of our lives to show, whether it's our kids bombing a Zoom or a cat walking by on your desk. And those things have brought delight and glimmers of joy to what could otherwise be just a soul-crushing time, frankly. And I think that humanity has made its way to the hearts of corporate America in a lot of ways. At least I've seen that in my organization. So yeah, that's been my biggest takeaway. And from my perspective, that is, it's a joyful thing to see.
Yeah. And we talked so much about transparency on this panel, and it's amazing when employees know the scoreboard, right? If anybody's read the great Game of Business, when they know what's at stake, like they can actually play the game at the most efficient level. And I think every company was more transparent during these times, and they saw their employees, like all of you guys have said, step up to the plate in just a magnificent way. Luiz, what about for you 10 years from now? What do you take away most, and how did the company, how did yourself grow in this situation?
I couldn't be more proud of the work we are doing. I see all the effort, all the extra hours we are putting to make sure that we can deliver a positive impact on the society, how we are using our resources to make it happen. At those moments, the purpose that we have as an organization of bringing people together to a better world, of course, we are able to materialize that on the day-to-day before, but now it's proven how important it is for the society and our role at the board. And I believe that nobody's going to leave this situation without a higher sense of purpose and the roles of our brands in people's life. This is for me is the bigger takeout, and also how important it is to make sure that we put our people first, their safety, their well-being, because that's the only way that we can put consumers' needs first. So consumer centricity is about being people-centric since the beginning, and those two things are big blessings that we have right now.
Yeah, it turns out perspective is key in personal life, professional life. It's a great thing to focus on. Mike, I'll throw it to you to take us home on this one.
Okay. Again, thank you for this opportunity.
Of course.
We have to remember 8 weeks ago, we were told that, death rate was going to be much, much higher. And fortunately it's not. We didn't know what was right around the corner. So we were exercising a lot of empathy for all of our franchisees. They're the owners, their crew, their employees. We're giving out bonuses for hardships. We try to instill as much hope. And mindset was, tough times don't last, tough people do. But it was, we as the franchisor, we remember who our customer was. And our customer was the owners, the franchisees. Make sure they're happy and they're safe and secured. And that, I think, went down to their staff. So we're going to be most proud, as the three of us are, that we helped a whole lot of people get through this.
Yeah.
It's not always about the dollar and cents. It's about love. It's about caring and pulling your partner through this with great communication. Again, we use that word empathy. But for the folks that are listening, thank you for the support of our businesses that are here. But please support your local business owners. They've gone through quite a bit. Hopefully they went through the funding from the government. We're all going to come out of this better than ever, but we have to work together.
Yeah, I love that. And I think if I have a hunch, if this was 4 or 5 months ago and I asked you guys to come on, you guys are on planes, you guys are busy. There's no way I get all three of you together. So my silver lining is we've made this connection. I'll, of course, connect all of you as well. I'm so glad that you guys have met each other and can network in the future, and glad that we made all this happen. So thank you so much for your time. I much appreciate it.
Thank you
very much. It
Thanks,
was a pleasure.
team. All right.
Bye.
Talk soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, well, another successful panel. I'll tell you, man, we got to do more of this stuff, because there's something about kind of having that group dialogue that almost pulls more out of people. And I saw them writing notes during it as other people were talking. So the panelists were learning from the other panelists, which made me feel good. Nicole even hopped in and said, Mike, I got a question for you. I'm sorry, David. I know you're the host, but I got to hop in here, which I totally love. And going forward, we probably should make it super apparent at the top, like, hey guys, let's talk over each other. Let's have a conversation. This isn't just me directing questions, but yeah, man, overall, great episode there.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, I'm sure, you were busy kind of hosting the whole thing, but as a leader yourself, are you going to go back and look like, man, these guys have some great ideas. Like, why haven't we been doing this? Or
even
why don't we
Mike,
have a coffee break, or he said they have a workout competition or a fitness competition or something like that.
And what's really great is all these leaders over the last, what we have, like 4, 5, 6, 7, around 7 or 8 really large leaders at large corporations and brands. It's really, for me, it's told us that we've done it right. I think you'd probably agree. We've done a lot of things like mental health breaks. We've checked in on people. We've asked people about their mental, emotional, physical capacity. We've had more meetings. I don't know. I think we've done a pretty good job, but of course, there's a lot of cool ideas that they had. And I want to talk to Mike at length going forward as well, because I'm even thinking about how do we open our office back up as a creative agency and as a digital social first agency. There's a part of it that we have to be in office for productions, for creative brainstorms, for really important client meetings. But again, like, do we create more of a WeWork environment and not so much your personal desk? I know, Will, you got your Laker flag and it may hurt your soul a little bit there. But in terms of, like, I love the idea potentially of Monday and Friday work from home, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you come in the office. Will, what are your initial thoughts on that proposal?
I think the Friday work from home is great from an employee standpoint. I think 3 Fridays down the road, you might want to change that policy.
All
but
right.
I like it off the top.
We do work from home Wednesdays, but overall, I think that's going to expand, and I'm excited to hear what these different leaders do and what I can learn from them as well. And I like what Nicole said at the top. It's like 10 years from now, what do we learn from this? Just an amazing amount of perspective, empathy, and like, oh my God, if you care for your employees, you're transparent with your employees, you really take an initiative of how are you and your family doing. It doesn't have to be Will Kelly, the button-up guy at work, different from Will Kelly, the personal guy that has a family life. It really, I think, has forced us all to kind of mix those two. And why can't we just be ourselves more instead of being corporate Will versus hanging out at home Will? Which I know Mike, you don't do, but
I mean, this is a corporate Will.
I mean, come on.
Can't tell. Mike made a great point of, I think his line was, everyone thinks I got to give everything to my company, and then I get home at the end of the day and I'm drained and I barely have anything for my family.
I love
and he
that.
says, no, we flip that. Give your family your best, and then give us the rest. And I thought that was a really, really good way to look at it, because I think it's true.
Especially right now, it's like that has to be the focus. And what do they say? Happy wife, happy life. I mean, happy employee, happy. If the employees are happy, I mean, the company.
You got to find a better analogy for that. It didn't roll off the tongue.
Well, we'll roll with it. That's all I got. I mean, I'm tired of Will. I got all these panels, all this stuff, all this great content. I hope the people are appreciating. Make sure you check us out on iTunes. Rate 5 stars if you'd be so kind. We're on YouTube, Will. We're on Spotify. We appreciate you for all the amazing work you did to produce these panels. You're really becoming a true executive producer before your very eyes. I mean, this is impressive stuff.
I appreciate that.
Thank Dave Ferker again back here in studio, which felt really good. A little bit of normalcy back here, although my dog Zoe was kind of freaking out. But other than that, I think 10 out of 10 for the whole squad here. All right, so thank you so much for listening. We really do appreciate it, for taking an hour out of your day to listen to us jam about the industry. I know I geek out over it. Hopefully you guys do as well. Again, another edition of the Business of Social podcast. My name is David Brickley. It's been powered by STN Digital.